Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fire It Up with CJ show.
Woo! No
Woo!
arms of the angels or anything today, I see.
Okay, do you want Arms of the Angels? We'll get some Arms of the Angel spray. I don't
Is
even know
that
what
good for
this
deep
is.
breathing as well? I apparently have lost my voice since my last interview.
Oh, it's rose, petitgrain, which I don't know what that is, lemon, mandarin, and lavender. It smells quite fresh.
Excellent. All right. So, if you've ever wanted to shift your life or reach a special goal, then do we have the 1% Better show for you? Today, we'll talk about chipping away, making small gains, and seeing the brilliance and even tiniest improvements. That plus we'll talk about going up mountains and rolling back down, tucking wings, online classes, putting off procrastination, chain smoking Colorado, the power of rain, a home turned into a sanctuary, bird sanctuary that is, what it means to be stuck, focusing on form, and what in the world bike races and getting lost have to do with anything.
Uh-oh.
So, welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to shine. Woo! Okay, bike races and getting lost.
Well, first, before we do that, let's talk about chain smoking Colorado. It is sunny out now, which is why I've been watching my green screen and how I'll handle things. Because it was raining all morning, which was just
Mm.
like a total blessing. Jessica had been doing basically metaphorical rain dances with what Joe Dispenza meditations, and it just rained today, and it's been so awesome. But it has been, and I feel for everybody in California and everywhere else, it has just been getting smokier and smokier each and every day since July 3rd. And this has been our smokiest week by far. I've got kind of this raspy smoking voice from
Mm.
going out and doing a bike race, which I'll talk about in a minute on Wednesday because it's been so smoky here.
Mm.
Um, but we're just doing the best we can. We're running four air filters in the house. They're continuously cycling between what
Wow.
says clean air and hazardous,
Wow.
and doing
Wow.
what we can. That's everybody in Colorado, I think, and I'm guessing California and elsewhere in the West. We're just doing what we can and socked in with smoke. I'm thankful for the rain. I'm hopeful that this knocks it down for a few days
Yeah.
because it's been both physically the cough that you hear, but also Jessica. She came from being molded out, so she may not be as strong in the lungs. I don't know how to put it. Careful what you think about and bring about all that good stuff. But suffice it to say, it knocks her down when it's super smoky, and
Mm.
it's got a lot knock a lot of people down when we're
Mm.
just walking through pea soup.
Yeah. Yes, it's almost been a month. Or has it
Yeah,
been exactly a month?
it
It's almost
is.
been exactly a month because July 3rd to August 3rd.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's
Wow,
been
that's a long time. And has it been smoky the entire time?
it ebbs and flows, but lately it's been settling in for the long haul. I think it's a
Ugh.
combination of a whole bunch of fires coming together. With this fire, got it's a little less than 13,000 acres. It's fairly well contained, but that's still 13,000 acres, or at least a decent amount of it, smoldering. And
Mm.
so it just sits in the valley.
Mm.
But now it's affecting up valley, down valley. I was looking at the Colorado smoke. There's now you can actually see smoke reports. Most of the state is socked in with a bunch of smoke, and
Mm.
I haven't looked at what other states are. I think it's just, Colorado 10 to 15 degrees above normal every single day
And
this
what and
summer.
what are the temperatures there right now?
Well, today's a blessing, and it probably won't break 80. It's been here just outside of Aspen, Colorado, in the very low 90s to mid
Uh,
90s
mm.
since, I don't know, at some point in June. But this is a place where the average temperature should be the upper 70s.
Yeah, that's
So
really unusual. Wow.
it's a cooker. And until today, almost no rain. We got a rain a week and a half ago, which was a miracle for the fire. That knocked it down, let the firefighters get some control over it. But it's changing times, and it is interesting.
Yeah,
It's
meanwhile
interesting.
they're rolling back the regulations on carbon emissions. I mean, it's insanity.
But out of that polarity will
Yes.
come greatness, and I am absolutely fully convinced that we as a species are exceptional, that when we get uncomfortable, often after ugly stuff has gone down, we make massive, dramatic, revolutionary changes. So I'm going to remain super positive. In fact, we've had on Joe Dispenza, Howard Martin, Dr. Amit Goswami, all of these very special, brilliant people talking about the power of group prayer, of group meditation, of group heart coherence, of coming together as large amounts of individuals, and by shifting our consciousness, literally being able to shift the material world. And so my confidence is exceptionally high that the more that our backs are put against the wall, the more great change will come out of it. I hope this is not the new norm for each summer to come, but Mother Nature has been overfueled. She's
Yeah.
been given a little too much heat, and she's doing what she can to shake it off.
Yeah. Well, I just talked to, I don't know whether you've interviewed yet, Brett Bevel from, he has this thing called Psychic Reiki. And I just interviewed him the other day. Yeah, for my regular radio show. And he was saying he had this ingenious idea from Mitsui. I can't remember the guy who is the founder of Reiki. Came to him one day and then gave him a way. Reiki is kind of more of a diffuse kind of healing. It's one healing modality of many, and it has kind of a diffuse kind of calming feeling to it, kind of a Zen feeling. And so what he did was he was given by the founder of Reiki during one of his visits to this gentleman a crystal that's put in front of your heart, and that when people, that he then embeds the book with this crystal, that when you read the book and just ask to be connected to this Reiki crystal, that it's a different way of getting Reiki instead of the traditional 3 classes. You read a book, you read a passage, you ask for Reiki, psychic Reiki, and then it's embodied in your psychic aura. Isn't that fascinating? And he does all this group work. So I guess to compensate the kind of doomsday scenario, there's lots of group work like that you mentioned, as well as like kind of innovations that I don't even understand, yet I know that they work. And I don't know if it's just the placebo effect. I'm not really even sure, but it was interesting talking to him. I was reading this book, and I literally fell into the deepest sleep I've ever had. So I thought, well, either I'm just really tired or there's something real in this book. By literally just reading a book, you could get energy, which I thought, wow, that's fascinating. And even this is one guy that I talked to. We did a group experiment where at 3:30, like at 7:30 in the morning, all of us meditated at the same time across the country. And people were reporting across the world, literally across the world, that they felt something at 7:30 their time from this heartfulness meditation. So there's all sorts of great innovations. Maybe not yet in the environmental sector, but I think that those are coming. But spiritual things happening.
And I believe that it's all energy, it's all vibration, and the more that we're getting in attunement with each other, and the more that there's this mass consciousness, that's actually the driver. The environment will follow. The environment is a reflection of what's going on in our internal environment. Mm-hmm. The more we shift our internal environment, that will shift. We've been challenging ourselves, Jessica and myself. We don't have the answer yet, but we have this massive audience now, and so we're asking ourselves, what can we do on the group meditations or group intention side of things? How do we turn this into some sort of an intention experiment? Mm-hmm. And is that something on our website? Is that something we do with our programs? We're going to have group coaching this fall, but that's a small amount of people. But we're going to be doing group intention setting meditations with this small group to help everybody in the group and to help everybody at large. But we're thinking bigger and going, all right, we've got this engine. We're a locomotive. We've gotten going, and boy, are we going to be heading down the tracks. What can we do? And we're one fractional piece. So many people around the globe, I believe, are having large numbers of people come together and are starting to think these same things. Like Dr. Amit Goswami starting a university, Dr. Joe Dispenza saying, I want 1,000 people at each program that I do, so I can have 1,000 people meditating together. You've got Heart Coherence, Howard Martin, and the Global Coherence Initiative setting up things worldwide. I believe we're actually at a really, really positive time, and I'm extremely bullish about it. And we're going to do our part, and I'm guessing so many other people are doing their part on it.
Yes, I absolutely. So I want to go back to some of the stuff about your time in chain smoking Colorado.
Yeah, then
It's
we had
been
the bike
raining.
races.
Okay, tell me about the bike races. So you're going to lead into the bike races.
Well, and this has to do with 1%. I have
1%?
1%. Today's theme for the show is to get 1%
Ah, okay,
better.
got it.
A tiny little bit better. And now I have mentioned beforehand that we would have Sir Meowsers coming into the studio as Jessica is taking a some sort of herbalism class for the next few
Ooh,
days.
very
And I'm
cool.
real excited about it. She's learning what flowers do which and creating essential oils, which you spoke about, and probably some other things that I don't even know because I haven't dug too much
Yeah.
into it. I was focused on the show, but because of that, I am the babysitter of Sir Meowsers this afternoon. He has come into the studio. I believe he is, yes, he is now starting to shred something in the studio. He has three meals out for him. I know none of them are correct. Usually he'll at least look at them. This time he scoffed in my general direction.
When does he
And so,
scratch?
well, he finds paper, whatever he can find. Usually he likes it, he can read very well. He usually likes it to be paper of significance.
Oh,
So, let's see if
wedding
we can pull a
certificate,
bill out of,
license,
oh
yeah.
yeah, oh, if he could get that, absolutely. So, because then he knows we take, immediate action. And this case, I'm not sure what it is. He's hacked it up a few times. I put it away. He's hacked it up again. So I think I've pretty much given up on it. But I think we'll give him a minute. The shredding may continue until morale improves, I think. So let's see. All right,
So bike
1%
races,
better.
yeah.
Uh, the last three bike races that I've done, I guess what have I done? Four mountain bike? No, three mountain bike. Anyway, the last three races that I've done, I have finished in quote last place in my group. And while I've been very okay with that, this is a learning. I don't even know why I'm doing it. I feel called. I feel a pull. Although I know I'm learning a lot out of it. Jessica keeps scratching my head, going, "What? What are you doing this for?" But she's supportive and loving. This last mountain bike race, I said, we're going to see some improvement out of this. I've been working, I've been training. Let's see what we can do. And I broke the race up into two or three races, which is the first part of the race. You go for several miles straight up hill on a cement bike path. Then you go on to the trails, then it goes down the trails, back up again, and you're done. And I said, I am going to try to win this race today. Jessica's like, oh, I didn't think you were trying to beat anybody. And I said, a win for me is to be at the start of the dirt with the other riders, to stay with the front group on the pavement until we actually get to the dirt. That for me is a win.
Right.
I'll be exceptionally happy with that. And so we started out. We've got these. I call them 10-year-olds. They might be 12 or 13. They are middle schoolers. They will be Olympians. They will be Olympians.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I get it.
So I'm at the front. We go. It's a neutral start. You go slow. You go under a tunnel. You come out of the tunnel and you can hit the gas. One guy takes off. These junior riders take off. It's juniors, beginners, and masters, 50 plus, and everybody's gunning for it. And I'm staying with a group, and I'm staying with a group,
Yes.
and I've got till this fall. I'm on just a tank of a bike, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep up with the group. I'm out of the saddle. The front end's kind of bobbing along with this old Ford. I'm gonna keep up with the group. Crest over the top of the hill. We've got just a few hundred yards till the start of the dirt. Start to fall behind. Another guy comes up. I hang on with him. I get to the dirt right at the tail end of the front group. And I'm
Yay!
cry. I was
Yay!
just so happy with myself for that improvement. On the dirt, I was exhausted, and it was a really smoky day. And if my coach knew how smoky it was, he probably would not be happy with me out there. And so I throttled back on the dirt. I slipped and slid on this downhill with this old fork and bike that I have. And then I get up and I have great endurance. So I start to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I pass someone like miracle of miracles, and I get out onto the final, what appears to be the final stretch. And I hear him say, as best as I could, go up the road and take a right at the top, or right at the top, or something. And there are like red flags that tell you where to turn and stuff like that. I'm charging up this hill and I'm getting faster and faster, and it's getting really quiet.
Oh
It's
no.
getting really quiet. And then a fox or coyote passes me and doubles around. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of the race, but this is nature. And knowing me, I'd want to stop. I'm like, well, but somebody else who from behind is going to scare them anyway. And so I won't stop.
Yeah.
And so I keep going. I double back around, and I come around the top of this hill and back down on the road and get to the same road that I just come from.
Oh no, Michael.
I'm now in an endless loop. I'm in an Escher painting doing a bicycle race. And so I head back down the direction I came from. I find a trail, no markings on the trail.
Oh
I
no.
take the trail, somebody comes up from behind. It turns out I'm going the right way. I get to the finish. They had run out of marking flags and assumed that everybody would know where the turn was.
Oh, brother. How
But
many
guess
people
what?
got lost? Oh my God.
Probably moi.
That's it? I
I
doubt
don't
it.
know, because it's a real, everybody rides the local trails. I've just gotten into it. We've
Yeah.
just moved here.
Right.
I've never been. There was a woman behind me who's like, "This is my favorite trail ever." I'm like, "I've never been here before,"
Wow.
but I didn't get last.
Yay.
I
Wow.
didn't get last. I'm happy. If I'm the last person, I view a race differently. I view it as like a serpent or an animal. It's all one entity moving together. Whether you're first or last, you're all in this thing together. And so I have my love for everybody. But I was so happy that I improved. Now, it would have been even better had I not done the extra mile plus.
Right, because you probably, who knows, you might have actually been better than second to. Were you second to last?
Jessica looked. I didn't even look, but she said, I believe, second to last, and she looked at the time, and I would have been even better than that. Chances were, if I hadn't done this extra mountain climb that I did. But it was incremental improvement. It was
Mm-hmm.
just chipping away little bits. To me, that means the world. If we can be just a little bit better at whatever we want, once a day or once a week or something like that, just tiny bits of improvement make massive difference. And I made a commitment to myself. And its commitment changes your musculature of your, is it your courage muscle, I want to say. When you commit to something and you do it, you feel much better about yourself. In fact, there are studies that show it actually affects the immune system.
Mm-hmm.
When you're honorable to yourself, your immune system, it has a moral function to it.
Mm-hmm.
It goes up. We had on Dr. Mario Martinez talking about this yesterday. It boosts your immune system. It boosts all the happy drugs of the body, and your body literally gets healthier because you were in congruence with what you said. You did what you said. And so in this case, I've been training relatively hard. This business is by far a bigger concern. My kiddies are a bigger concern. Jessica's a bigger concern. But I've been working hard and focused on it. And it just felt so good to see some fruition come from that. It wasn't well, to me, actually, it was a win. I would call that a win.
Yeah, congratulations. You won them, that you did better than how you defined when you won on the first part, right? Or you did had a huge improvement. And who knows what would have happened if you didn't do the extra mile
It's
up
all
the
just
hill.
the last two mountain bike races. The first one, I was dropped at 40 seconds in. Everybody rode away from me. The next race, I was told, either by my coach or myself, we had a plan of I was going to take it easy for the beginning and then see what came later on. I couldn't have kept up anyway. They
Right.
all rode away from me. This time, they didn't ride away from me.
Yay. Well, and
And
also, yeah, and I think the thing is you have a very different kind of bike, as Lance Armstrong pointed out. It's a vintage bike,
classic, yes.
classic bike.
And it's embarrassing, but I got a new to me fork for it. It's hard to find original equipment for this. It's over 20 years old. I
Yeah.
got a new to me fork on it 2 weeks ago that we didn't know when I got it that it needed a fork rebuild. And
Oh,
so it's soft and it pogos on the front end. What does that mean? Well, it means that it's probably not the best in real tight swoopy turns. Learned that yesterday. We'll be rebuilding it this weekend. But more importantly, it bobs up and down when you get out of the saddle. And
mm.
I'm an out of the saddle climber. I get out of the saddle, I'm strong,
So
I
you're kind
dance
of
because
like yeah, yeah.
I'm
Oh
used
no.
to skating, which is basically cycling without a saddle. So my
Ah.
strongest point I couldn't do. You get out of the saddle and the front end sags. And it's something again when the time is right. I did not budget for play toys, bicycle
Right,
toys.
right.
I don't complain about it. I work with it. And so to see the improvement with me on kind of like a pogo tank of a bike is just huge. And
Yeah, it
and
is
Jessica
huge.
and I joke about it. We're racing heavy right now, and then someday when we race light, when I actually get a bike that's in this, millennium, uh,
Well, just think
I'll
about it.
fly.
It's kind of like when people they're from Colorado and then they come down to, Seattle and, they're flying through stuff just because they've been working out in a much more heavy, quote unquote, situation air-wise and so, or thinner air. So you're kind of doing the same thing, but with your heavy vintage bike. You know,
I am. Yeah, go ahead.
well, it's so funny because I was explaining to my husband this week. I said, you know what? It's over the last couple of months, what I've recognized I've done, it's almost like mirroring your bike ride. I've gone up to, the top. I've been working on my spiritual practice, have gone up to the top, and where things were in flow, I just could feel really like I'm there. And you get the view, and you get the view where your consciousness is just the clearest it can be at that particular moment. And I was there in January, and then February was not so bad. March was okay. It's just, and then all of a sudden this remodel came for me, in which it was every single one of my triggers, just like every single button pushed. Someone went on the elevator and pushed all the buttons. I had to stop, and every single floor. And it was interesting because I went up to the top and you see the view, so you know what's possible. You know that there's just this wonderful thing that's possible. And it's hard because you see yourself not being at that place at that moment, right? But at the same time, you know that that place exists. And so instead, it's like, I don't even know what the analogy is. It's probably like going up to the top. And then as I'm going down the spot, I'm moving from the view of like the highest possible view to all of a sudden going down. I would say where it's basically like, I would say that it's like you go all the way to the top, then someone puts you in a closed barrel and you barrel down like hitting trees, going through little stream, come crashing down in the barrel, splintered wood all over the place, and you come out going like, how did I get here? How did I get here? And my husband and I were talking about various spiritual teachers, and all of them teach that, the way that you go up the mountain is the way that you want to go down the mountain. So if you meditate and be one, and then you tune in and you surrender, and you are like one with the universe and surrendered all your ego, and then you reach at some elevated place. Well, when you're elevated, you're going to start going down the same ladder that you came up. So it's about surrendering, and then it's about remembering that you're going to get distractions and to just do the basic foundational practices like meditation, breathing, journaling, whatever, and then falling gracefully. But what happens is when you kind of don't go down the way you came up, it's I think a harder fall. Does that make sense? I don't know if there's an analogy to biking, but I bet there is.
Going up. Well, I did tell someone during the race because the bicycle, it was having these fork challenges. I told her the uphill is the downhill is the uphill.
The uphill?
I, the
Yeah.
uphill is the downhill. The uphill was actually the easy part, and
Uh,
going downhill was actually the harder part. The
yeah.
downhill, I had to bring more presence to it, more awareness to it, and I had to actually slow down on the easier part for a more controlled descent.
Yeah, so that is exactly the same thing. I think it's to be conscious as you're decelerating or falling from one state to another, so and not to be too judgmental, right? Because there is for whatever reason, there's a maybe you can go back in another rolling hill, but sometimes you can't, and so it's about going down, and then reaching the bottom, and not being a splintered barrel, shattered into 1,000 pieces,
This
which
is
is how I did it this time.
taking it back to biking, but without these shattered pieces. Well, we're going
Yes.
to strike that from the record.
No, no, strike it from the record.
But when I started into this, I had come from, being, let's say, higher up in the game than
Right.
where I am now. And it was very important to approach it. It's real easy to say, but I was here.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't I here again?
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't I at this pinnacle of whatever? Instead, I'm down here and I'm finding myself a little bit lower and a little bit lower and a little bit to bring non-judgment to it.
Yes.
That to me, in fact, if we're talking about becoming 1% better, if you can become 1% better each day at not judging where you are,
Or where you
you will
were.
set where you are based on where you were.
Yeah.
So, because you're judging based on that reflection. If we had nothing to reflect against, then we're perfect right where we are. And that's something I was talking about a guest earlier today, our Arjuna Ardok. We're talking about that humans may be the only other animal to look at other animals and go, oh, you've got that, I've only got this, well, what's wrong with me?
Right.
So we are continuously reflecting, looking at that other thing. If we let go of that judgment and let go of just a little bit more judgment each day, then wherever we are free. And certainly if there's someplace we want to get to, if it's for our highest good and the highest good of all, we're liberating ourselves. We're taking off the cement boots to make it easier to get there. Because what really keeps us, if we want to call it stuck, if we want to call it down, what keeps us from soaring, at least in our hearts, is judging ourselves from where we're at.
Right. Well, I would say as I went down the barrel, rolling in many different directions,
Oh no.
I would say that, is it a judgment? I think it actually is factually what happened. I mean, it is what happened. And the next time I descend, I'll descend better. I mean, it's almost like it's almost as if you have to develop consciousness and awareness that you were at some level and you're tumbling down, and to, instead of like, how in Aikido they have like controlled falls, instead of kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
you're forcing against it, and kind of like, and then in some ways you damage both yourself.
Allowing.
Yeah, allowance first. If you force against the opponent in the drive, then it actually hurts both of you. If you just like flow with it and not resist it, and not judge it, then I think it's a little bit easier. But I think if I were honest with what was happening, I didn't, first of all, I didn't see it. I couldn't see myself going down the hill. I knew I was stressed, so I knew something wasn't right. And I was like getting mad and angry at myself for being in those states and trying desperately to claw back to the state that I was in. And I can see that was not only very hard to do, but it was not kind to do. And it was hard emotionally, and it was hard physically because you're suffering from whatever the fall, but then you're also suffering from the judgment that you place on yourself for falling
Yeah.
in the first place. And I think if that could be eliminated, there would have been pain, but it wouldn't have been as much suffering, I think. But it was interesting. I mean, every single time one of these ramps, I come up and I fall down from an elevated state and I just see a free fall. I mean, that in itself is a beautiful thing, because how else are you going to get better if you don't see each time you fall how you've fallen and what you can do differently. I mean, I can tell you, at least from my work style, like I remember a couple years ago, we talked about how I just completely went gung-ho and lost myself. I don't do that as much. And I don't do, or if I do it, it's a much kind of like, oh, I'm doing that. I need to take a break. Oh, I'm doing that. Do I have to do this much? Can I do less and be okay? And so this is a time when I was doing on work projects where it had a slightly, it's the same thing work, but in a different context where it's like work projects where there are people depending on me and all these, it had some slightly different variables, and it was a different context where I hadn't conquered, and you know what I mean? Conquered or known how to handle. And so now I'm smarter. The next one, I'll be better.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Now, I haven't gotten to the Ajashanti place yet. He talks about, or we discussed on the show a while back, about life being like a roller coaster, and to get to a place where you can appreciate the down as much as the up.
Yeah.
So, and I do believe it's possible to get to that place. I think we're going to always, who knows, I'm not there, always have an emotional state. But if we can recognize the emotional state, allow the emotional state, and say, well, that's just part of life.
But you are there. You just did that on the race. Like you went up and then you went down and then you went up and down.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, you went up and down and you were like, oh, I did an extra one up and down than I needed to. Hey, but I still won. You know what I mean?
And I saw a fox or a coyote. And in my world, that's like everything. You know, I'm surprised I didn't just hop off the bike and try to pet the wild animal. That'd be my style. But I figured there was another rider coming up behind.
So I think actually did. I mean, it first of all makes for a great story. You know, so the down part, it's hard to like the down, right? Because all you're doing is seeing how you quote unquote failed, or you saw the view and you lost the view and you couldn't, and in my case, I'm talking about myself solely. I saw the view, I lost the view, you know, the view at the top of the mountain where you can see everything and know that you're one with everything and everything is there. And then all of a sudden you're like, no, it's just me and this barrel rolling down the hill. You know, you just lose it so quickly.
This could be esoteric, but where's the real work? Is the real work done at the top of the hill? Or is the real work you get the glimpse of the cheese and now you get to go back into the muck or the mire and you have energy or something from that and get to work with where you're at?
I think the real work goes when you're falling down, and, you know, because it's so hard. And how do you resist judging? How do you resist, you know, the suffering that's on top of the pain? How do you notice that it's even happening and stopping? And, you know, and I would say, for my own credit, I would say that as I was noticing these things, I had remedied actions. You know, so I'd get a massage. I did tapping. I would heavy up on meditation. I would take naps. So my fall probably in the past would have been more catastrophic than this time around. But it's this time around was still not super graceful. And, you know, it will get the down that you do, if you go down several times, many times, all of a sudden you perfect both going up and going down. And then I think you become indifferent. I don't know. I hope I do. I hope that's the end goal, is that because I'm not there yet, that I don't know. But I hope that you get indifferent. In some ways, for the part that I have conquered 2 years ago, where I would go throw myself into my work project and lose all sense of everything. I'm not there yet. I mean, I still do a little bit, but not as bad as I used to. And so when I go down, I guess I don't fall down as far as I used to, but I still learn each time I get in one of those downhill descent for my work stuff, if that makes sense. So like what happens to me is I go, you know, I hit a peak, I'm working really hard, and then what happens to me, because I'm task oriented versus relationship oriented, I forget about the relationships. And then what happens is you cause more pain and suffering, because work is really about task getting the task done while at the same time having cordial relationships with everyone, family, work associates, other people that piss you off, during the day because you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And I'm much better at those things, but I'm not 100%, improved. Although I'm greatly improved. So I think that if you keep on going up and down, after a while the down isn't as low as before. And maybe what it does is you go up and then you're just level out. I think that that's the goal, to just level out versus, I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. For me, it's enjoy the ride. Even on the down, find a way to enjoy the ride, which is
I know
which is
that
the
that's
hardest thing.
I know that's the end goal. I know that's something that I read and I believe, but while doing it, that's the other thing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
to go with the up and down, and I don't want to take us too far off track here. Had on Amit Goswami a day or two ago, and I absolutely love him. I want to give him, whenever I meet him, I want to give him the giantest teddy bear hug. And he talks about his song "Doobie Doobie Doo," and I want to switch it, and it never comes out right when you say it right. Be doo be, but it's this balance of doing and being, and I know I am a hopefully well recovered, even though I do a lot of doing, doobie doer, rather than a do addict. And my guess is that you're a recovering do addict as well.
Yes. And so meditation is a way to be, or to just sit with something and not do anything and just wait for the answer to emerge. I did that recently and I was really proud of myself because I had a situation in a group where a couple of members in the group had complaints about other members in a group. And when that happens, it can go to a quick descent into something bad, right? And then because if you don't address it quickly, the thing just accelerates and the stories and the division becomes greater. And I thought, okay, I don't want that to happen, so I need to address this. And I thought, well, do I have enough information to address it? I'm like, I don't know what to do today. And the second day, I'm like, okay, it's still an issue. And it was kind of haunting me. Still don't have an answer. And then the third day, I'm like, don't have an answer. And then finally, so it was as of Sunday I had this. And then as of Wednesday, I'm like, okay, I have to make this phone call because, it's been too much time. And if too much time goes on, I'm going to forget things. And, it's kind of hurting me not to say something. And I actually don't even know what I'm going to say. But I had typed out what I thought I was going to say. And it wasn't exactly what I said, but it was close enough. And, so I just was being, in those 4 days and being very Taoist, like, don't know. I still don't know. And until I had clarity and I found myself picking up the phone, I thought, okay, now I know because I have to know because I picked up the phone and here I am calling. And the phone call went fabulously because I had taken that long time period to just be with it versus like reacting right away and trying to address it. So I do think the be, do, be, do, be, do. This is good. It's a good thing.
Be do be.
Yes, exactly. Well, and then the other thing, so I had a massage because my knees, I should be asking you about this, but my knees are are all of a sudden creaky. Where your knees are sore, you wake up, you bend, you're like, ow, and then you bend another, wah, and you do lunges. That's what's been happening to me lately. So I thought, and it's funny because I was in the flow in the beginning of July, even amidst all this craziness. And then I kind of got out of the flow, and I'm slowly resuming being back in the flow where I'll just say something like, I'm like, oh, what time is it? My husband will look at and go, oh, wait, I have a meeting in 5 minutes from now. Oh my God, I totally forgot. Just kind of connecting things that I don't even know how I'm doing it, but I'm doing it. And so I had my knees hurt, and I thought, oh, I better call my person, Kristen, who I saw while I was running the other day while she was eating noodles. It was just this bizarre thing, which is this 1% chance because she never comes in the neighborhood. And each time she comes in the neighborhood, she tells me she sees me 80% of the time. And she's never in this neighborhood, but we see each other each time. So anyways, I see her, I would text her a note. And she's usually booked up. She's like, yep, I can see you tomorrow. And then I go in there and, it's it's like everything is just flowing. Like I notice something, I respond immediately. I'm not consciously thinking, I better call Kristen because of blah, blah, blah. It's like my knees hurt. I call her. She's available. I go in the next day. And, and things are beginning to click back in. And it's awesome when life, when life is like that, when things
Very
start clicking
cool.
and flowing, I'm kind of getting back slowly but surely into the flow. So I feel hopeful that
Tiny
things are.
bit more, tiny bit
It's
more,
the
tiny
1%,
bit.
like you said, like that goes, okay, well, it's about surrender. And when she was giving me a massage, she was going around my scapula area in the back, both, and it was like, it felt like hell. It hurts. You know, when it's like, oh my God, okay, that's the point. So I was like, what's, and she's like, wow, it's like your wings are tucked. Like, if you had angel wings, they're kind of like sewn in so that you couldn't move your arms. And she kept on saying, surrender, surrender. And it was amazing. So, like, it was exactly the message that I needed to hear. And it's only because I was flowing into life that I found her the message and that the appointment happened with such grace and ease. So I feel like good stuff is happening.
And I love the connection. I always love the connection. There is no separation between mind and body, but body has to tell us what's going on spiritually, what's going on with the mind. And so relax, surrender, surrender. There you go.
Yep. Yeah. It's exactly the same thing. So anyhow, we both had our up and downs and all over places. Tell me a little bit about how your classes are going.
So classes, oh, those are yours. That was your note, I
I
think,
know it
online
is my
class.
classes. I'll tell you about my classes. You tell me about your classes.
Our classes have been going great with our automatic writing, with our magical morning routine, and then we're going to start a group coaching program on manifesting and attracting into your life what you desire. We're going to start that in the beginning of September and do group meditation work and group coaching work, and we're real excited about that. So those have really been our online classes, and Jessica's been taking more of a participatory role. She's been teaching in the classes. We do have the once a week YouTube live, the Ask Michael Anything,
Mm-hmm.
which I suggested renaming it. She said, "No, don't you even consider that. You're the one answering the questions." Takes her off the hook, but she's been as much of a participant on these what is in a sense a weekly class on YouTube, a live
Yeah,
class every Wednesday evening,
that's cool.
and that's at what 5 Eastern time, and she's been having a lot of fun, and it is so cool watching her growing
Oh,
into her authentic voice, and being really comfortable because she's really quiet on the mic. We don't have her on the mic very much, and it's always been a challenge for her, and she's finding her voice in these classes,
that's
and
great.
she has at least an equal amount to say as I do, because she has a much different, of course she's not in my shoes, she has a very different viewpoint on life,
Right.
but we're going through the journey together and we're learning from all the authors together. So I want to, in those classes, just go quiet and just watch her, and she'll be like, what? I'm like, no, I'm just learning, I'm listening.
Yay! Just that makes me really happy. Yay! That's really exciting.
So your
Especially,
online classes, go
yeah.
ahead.
So my online classes. Okay, so as I mentioned probably a couple weeks ago, my office was blown into 1,000 pieces, and so this is what a typical week looks like. Wait, where's my? I have an interview. Wait, where's that book? Oh no, wait. Is it in that house? Is it in the upstairs room where I put it? Is it down on the bookshelf? And then I'm like, oh wait, no wait. This is what my days look like, pretty much over the last couple months. This is what a typical day looks like. So it's things scattered all over the place. I don't know where I'm going half the time. And so it's not surprising that on this Tuesday I had an appointment and I totally forgot about. I saw it the day before, but it didn't register in my head. And so I saw it and then it just floated out of my head. So I decided to go to like grab a coffee and I'm hanging out. And then I get back and it's like, hey, looking forward to seeing you. And I was like, oh my God. So there's persons in a coffee shop waiting for me. I'm not there. And then I call up, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And it's like 3 minutes after the time that so it's not that bad, but I can't find her phone number. So I'm running all around. I'm looking at all these different websites. I'm looking for emails. I'm trying to reach her. And so finally I get her and I said, I'm so sorry. I can't meet you, but why don't we talk over the phone? And I don't even really remember why I'm meeting her, except for that a friend kind of told me she did something and we should meet. And so I was like, okay. And I said, well, I'm not sure exactly why we should meet, but let me tell me a little bit about what you do and your organization does. And then she told me about what she did. And then I said, well, here's how the points of connection of what you do and what I do. And I said, so I'm not sure exactly where that would take us, but, these are the areas we intersect. And then all of a sudden I have an intuitive hit. And the intuitive hit is, oh, and it literally just came clear to me. And I said, oh, I think, can I share my intuition on this? She said, sure. And so I said, I think what I'm supposed to do, what would be worthwhile when I look at the intersecting points, is to do a monthly class for your small businesses where I would there'd be a small business class on EQ, emotional intelligence, and handling the most common issues that you have in the workplace that really make the difference between having an okay culture to having a great culture. And so I could teach these classes to you every month. Like once a month I'll go and I'll do an online class. And she said, that sounds great. So, I mean, I'm not sure if they're going to happen, but it's a continuation from my all the research that I did from the online women's group that I did. It's a continuation from that. So that was super interesting. It's interesting how I didn't really know exactly how the online women's group was going to go, and it went well. I learned a ton, and the women were great. And I just kind of keep on having faith that somehow all these things fit together, even though I don't know. And even the meeting was a perfect example of that. I had no idea where the meeting was. Well, I didn't attend the meeting on time. 2, I forgot what the meeting was about. And then 3, I just let my intuition nonetheless lead me, and it was perfect. Everything worked out perfectly.
I think this is such a lesson for people. It's a lesson on many levels. To me, the most exciting piece is I don't know why I want to use, it's not really my vernacular, but juiciness. There's a juiciness in the unknown and just leaning into the unknown. We are trying to ride a wild bull of life. And the harder we try to ride it, the more we get thrown off or torn apart trying to hold on to it. And we just go, wee! I have no idea why I'm meeting with you. Let's see what happens out of this situation. I have no idea why this is going on at work. I have no idea why this door closed in front of me and I appear to have to take a complete right angle to where I want to go, or why I'm even rolling back down the hill.
Right.
But it's okay.
Right. And just lean into it and go, well, I don't know. And then she's like, I don't know either. I'm like, well, she said, if I had, a coaching position, I'd be interested in adding you, but we don't. I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden I was like, about to hang up the phone. And then I'm like, oh, I know. And she's like, that's a great idea. And it was like, it was just like two people like with their hands out and they were kind of trying to find each other where their fingertips touch and like, yes, that's it. But both of us were just grasping in the dark. It was kind of a beautiful thing. And thank goodness she was so patient, because I think most people would be like, I don't know. If you don't know, I don't know. And why am I even talking to you? Goodbye.
So I have the strangest connection here. Doobie Doobie Doo. Isn't that the song Strangers in the Night? Exchanging.
It is.
It's the strangers in the night coming together.
Exactly. It's almost as if we planned this, but we didn't.
I love it.
I love it too. Well, anything else in your end?
So a couple last things. First off, been real smoky. So overall, I'm supposed to throttle back on my training. And so while I'm racing and doing all these things, my real focus has been on skating this year. And what can I do to improve my skating, getting back into skating? For what purpose, can't say exactly, although I am planning on cross-country ski racing, or trying that at least this fall. And in fact, everybody here is an Olympian, and I don't even think that's an exaggeration. I guess I'm not an Olympian. But the person who I signed into the bike race on Wednesday night, He's an Olympian of cross country skiing himself.
Wow.
So they are all Olympians. But I've been really focusing on the skating, and what has happened is this week for training, I haven't been able to train hard because you need to protect your lungs in the
Mm,
smoke. Probably shouldn't have raced, but it was the inner child wanting to go
right.
play. But what I've been able to do is go extra slow and focus on my form.
That's a good
That
idea.
1% improvement of I need to go slower. Why don't I put more awareness on this? Why don't I focus on each movement? Why don't I go and just, it's really the whole go slow to go fast for my little turtle up here. The whole go slow to go fast idiom that I like following or
Hmm.
plan that I like following. And so this week I've been doing these extra slow skates, focusing on form, shifting weight from one leg, shifting leg back to the next. It's a controlled, smooth fall from each. And I have had a real joyous time going into the flow of the snow
Mm,
slowness and the presence and improving my form little bit by little bit, rather than go, 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 where
mm,
your form falls apart. You can't be as clean. You can't work on the
mm,
nuance when you're full throttle, full speed ahead. And so I feel this time of, well, why is it so smoky? Why I train so hard is actually helping me improve rather than
mm.
holding me back.
That's a great insight, I think, because I was just talking to someone who said, I just want to go fast and everyone here wants to go slow. And it's like, well, why don't you just relax into that? That's one solution. And I think it irritated her. Okay. I was like, okay, that's just a thought. You don't have to agree with me. But I think that when that happens, I don't know what the equivalent would be in a work setting for focusing on your form, but it's like, I guess it's about refinement
Presence,
and,
maybe.
yeah, refinement and presence in the things that you are doing. Refining and being present with the irritation that you're feeling with others because they're not going as fast as you want, you know?
It's interesting. If you took a team and you're driving them to go as fast as they can, and instead you relaxed on the reins and allowed them to slow down and to be more, would they really be less quote unquote productive? Or would they have the pause to allow creative ideas to percolate and to come to the surface that you could never have heard at full speed? And now actually you go from evolutionary gains to a revolutionary gain because you've allowed people to slow down and be with the experience or be with themselves.
Right.
The fight or flight response of driving 100% doesn't allow for improvement.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, absolutely. In fact, the thing I've been procrastinating about is a report where I'm writing with the team, and it's basically that's one of the main recommendations. It's hard because when you are facing a deficit, or you go to a scarcity mindset, and then you go into a place of fear, and in that place of fear, people start blaming each other, and it is so hard to break the cycle of that happening. And then what happens is like you have to go faster in order to like make up for the deficit. It's just this kind of like, and it's like full of
That's
fear
called
and
implosion
yeah,
sooner or later.
it has. I think yeah, and I hope that doesn't. That's not the fate, but I think there is an implosion kind of thing because it can't like all these things. It's like, when the engine is going and you see those scenes in Battleship or the engine of something. It's like it's like you see the nuts vibrating. That's what it feels like.
I think of an old castor oil commercial, and the pistons start getting
Yeah.
red right before it seizes.
Yeah. So, but you have to go, if you don't go slow, then you never really have time to calm everything down. So that is in fact what I'm writing, but I've been procrastinating writing it. It's taken me forever to write this report.
Go
Anyhow,
slowly into the go slowly report
I know.
and lean into it and ask, why am I procrastinating? What am I afraid of?
Yeah.
What's my biggest concern of diving into this?
Yeah.
And it may be that you're afraid that if you speak their truth, it's not what they want to hear,
Yeah.
which means you get to speak it even more.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I have to dive in. That's a really good thing to contemplate. I don't really know. I'm usually not this molasses slow.
Yeah.
So anyhow.
So going from molasses slow to the last thing that I want to cover is I've got an image of a hummingbird behind me. And the
Yes.
hummingbird is the fastest mammal, the opposite of the molasses.
Yes.
And we have been since the fire started, the hummingbirds have been migrating across the valley towards our home, which is now I've got to call it a hummingbird sanctuary. I don't know the total number, but in any minute, in any not every minute, but we have counted as many as 50 birds at one time
Whoa.
on the feeders. The feeders have 10 ports each. We had 5 feeders with 10 ports each, and they'd be pretty much filled. We've expanded to 7 feeders now, and right before it's dusk or sunset, or the sunset, and they're getting like their last feeding of the day, almost all of those have filled. And now we're going to 9 feeders. And we are
Wow.
taking time each day. We're eating our meals out by the hummingbirds. We're taking time, it's wind up time. It's time to go to bed. You look at the clock, you got to get ready for bed. No, let's go sit out with the hummingbirds for just a little bit. And they're letting us get
Oh.
between 6 inches and a foot away from them. They'll come right up in front of us
Wow.
and look at us, and they'll kind of tilt their head and look with one eye, then look with the other. And it's turning into such a special
Oh,
experience.
wow.
Something's going to come out of this. I've talked about for years, we both have, about having some sort of an animal sanctuary. We never imagined having a hummingbird sanctuary. And it's not really a sanctuary because they're gonna adios in September down to Peru for the winter.
Right.
These little tiny things, which are the world's smallest birds, the smallest one, and we've had the baby ones out here.
Oh.
They hatch, they start to fly, and then somebody tells them about this great place to get some grub down the road. 2 grams each. 2 grams.
Show
That's
me how big they are. Like, how big are they?
inch to inch and a half in
Wow.
length, and maybe a centimeter long. I'm going to call it a schnozzle, which their feet can't even fit on the feeder when they're tilting
Oh,
it to get
so
their nose
cute.
or their beak into the little plastic flower. And they are the cutest little thing. And so they weigh what, a 200th of a pound.
Wow.
And their heartbeats are up to 900 beats per minute, and they fly it up to 60 miles an hour. This
Wow.
tiny little thing.
Oh, cute.
And we've just been mesmerized by spending time with them. It'll mean something for our future. I don't know what. Right now, we're just, it's like making an impression on our soul. Each chance we can, we go out and just hang with the hummingbirds. And it's talk about having nature in your backyard or front yard. It is just the coolest thing.
That is
And
cool.
this is part of the unknown. Lean into it. What's going to come of it? Who knows? Why am I getting more feeders? Who knows? It's the old, if you build it, they will come. The more feeders we put out, the more birds that are showing up. And it is just when you're out there. I did my daily wow this morning. I'm just standing, got the cell phone camera going, and they're just going zzz, 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 come up in front
Wow.
of you. Zzz. It is just so
Oh my
cool.
gosh, I have to watch your daily wow. I can't wait to see those hummingbirds. They're so cute. Do you have any of the babies?
Oh, we have many babies that are
Like a
in.
picture or film of them?
Today was rainy. One of my coaching clients, who is a photographer, challenged me a day or two ago. She says, you got to start taking photos. And we've got a good month until they migrate. So I'm going to start cranking up the photos, figure out how you take.
Yay.
Their wings are so fast. That's why they make this sound, the humming sound when they come close.
Wow.
So I have to
Very
figure
cool.
out how you capture that on film. But I had yesterday, two of them were playing with each other, tumbling, and they actually touched my hair as
Oh!
they were. You could feel the hair come, or the wind coming off of their. It's so cool. This connection to nature is so,
That
so,
is
so,
so
so cool.
cool. That's very cool. That's an exciting development. Very exciting. Oh,
So we'll let you know more about how that goes. And we're
yes.
doing 1% more hummingbird care every day. We made the egregious error 2 days ago, 2 nights ago, after the race. Some of the feeders ran out. And by the time I got up in the morning, they had wiped out all of the feeders. And
Wow.
for the morning, the hummingbirds had all disappeared. And Jessica's like, are hummingbirds going to be coming back? And then we get one back and then two. And I'm like, don't worry, Pookie. They talk. They'll, and by the evening, there's this giant swarm of
Because there's a
hummingbirds
whole
again.
process. I remember you have to like boil the water and it has to be under distilled water and all these
So,
different
so now we've
conditions.
got
So,
this large vat that we make it in, so to speak, and we've got this whole, but it is so worth it to
yeah.
have that amount of nature close by you. I mean, these are wild animals, and they're just wanting to be, yeah, it's because you're feeding them, but they're wanting to spend time near you, and they're coming up to you, and they're checking you out. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. If it doesn't happen, that's okay. But I'm hopeful they'll like start landing on my hands and stuff in the
Wow.
next few weeks. I think that'd be the coolest thing. If it doesn't happen, no attachment. I'm like the good karma points of feeding this many animals who are in need because they
Yeah.
lost the whole environment.
Right.
That's got to count for
Yeah, it
something.
does count for something, for sure. I love it. Well, any final words?
It was supposed to be. We went all over the place in the most beautiful way today, which is the attachment and the allowance. But I want to challenge people. First off, there is no place to get to. It's the journey. So wherever you're trying to get to, let it go. Just be with wherever you're at. If you feel you want to do more, like you're in a race and you want to see what you can do, just try to do a smidge bit better today and a tiny bit better tomorrow and a tiny bit better the next day. That doesn't seem like much, but it's sustainable.
Hmm.
And over a long period of time, you will have completely transformed that area of your life or your entire life and in a way that has stick to it. It's not about a magic bullet. It's not about doing one thing that changes your whole life. It's about these tiny little steps forward, like tiny little hummingbird's not supposed to be able to fly. Physics says it can't fly, but it doesn't realize that. And so it just flaps like hell. And these tiny little wings, tiny little steps. And they're the only bird that can hover, the only bird that can go backwards. And per scale, they're the fastest animal on the planet
Wow, I had
because
no
you're
idea.
talking about a 2-inch little animal being able to go 60 miles an hour.
Yeah,
Tiny
love it.
little steps or flaps. That's all I've got, CJ. And you?
I'm good. I'm good.
So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
saying, be well, have fun, flap like hell, but one little baby step at a time. 1%. That's all it takes. One little smidge. And above and beyond all else, shine bright.
Woo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show and would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.